Hey guys, it's Who's a Doom, and I know it's a bit later into November, but I'm gonna do a hobby journey video of what I was doing back in October. So, I think the biggest news for me in the hobby sphere is the fact that I've started painting again after kind of a long hiatus after the move. So, I mean, I was painting a little bit towards the end of September, working on Nagash. And Nagash took a very long time to kind of complete. Uh, but I did get them done. I finished the tutorial through Warhammer TV, and then about 2 weeks before the tournament, I had to just cram in all the other models. But it was quite a marathon. Enjoyable though, actually. I got watch a lot of videos. I actually just finished the Warlord stream that Warhammer TV did. So I watched the entire thing, which is I think 11 or 12 hours long, but really good, and really enjoyed all the other videos that other people were producing, and lots of other videos too, because I was painting a lot during those last couple of weeks. I'd get up at 8 and paint sometimes to right till midnight. I mean, I'd take the odd break here and there, but it was pretty consistent. So, but I got quite a bit done, as happens when you paint that much. So, I got Nagash finished, and like I said, I think he's pretty good. I think with all these models, I just want to say that I'm not 100% finished with them. I'm going to toy around this month, and do a little bit of extra work, a little bit of details here and there that I just wanted to pop or tidy up. And then I'm going to submit them through the PMP. I'll take some better pictures from different angles, and we'll see how that goes. But I got Nagash finished. I got Neferata finished. I really like how these actually turned out. The transition on the cloak, especially, I think it worked out fairly well. I think one of the things in it, the bone details are like the biggest thing for me to clean up, but I think I like to move the darker red up the cloak just a little bit, so it's a little bit more of a transition. But all in all, I'm fairly happy with them. And then I got old Manfred. Um, I love what I like about the Warhammer TV videos is that they're fairly simplistic techniques. They don't require a huge amount of expertise, but you can really apply some of the same skills onto all the others. So I've never done that color transition with a glaze before, but that's how Nagash, how he goes from his cloak being kind of a dark green to the light green of the spirits. You do all these washes on it, and so then I was like, oh, okay, maybe I can apply it onto these two. Now it's a little bit different to go from like a green to a dark green. Archon and Nagash were much easier to do. This was, kind of a very light green to a red. So it's not perfect, but I think it looks okay. And I think if I make those couple adjustments, that's all I really need to do. And then I have Archon. So I did Neferata and Manfred in red because I figure, even though they're part of Nagash's little group in Death, I figure they'd be more likely to be alongside traditional vampires because they both are vampires. So that's why I did their armor red, and so they stand out a little bit. Archon, because he's kind of Nagash's, first-hand man, I painted him the same purple as Nagash. And then I did the 3 Morghast Archai and 3 Morghast Harbingers. I did these the same purple because I figure these are more associated with Nagash than any other faction within Death. And then I finished 2 Morgul, the veritable dogs of Nagash. These things were amazing. My wife is already planning on using them against me, and I'm already a little bit upset about that. We'll see how that works. And then I finished 50 skeletons, which was good. There's a lot of detail here I want to do. I wanted to brighten them up. I really want them to be closer to white, and I want to fix their banners a bit. Kind of redo the banners, essentially. And then I worked on a warlord. This is the special character for the Holy Havoc tournament. I'm really not much for conversions. For other people, it's completely in their wheelhouse. They absolutely love it. I don't know. I'm always a little bit uncertain. It's one of the reasons why I'm not doing Budget of Sigmar. I don't know. I'm partially, I'll blame it on the fact that I'm more of a Warhammer collector. I like to get the official models, but it's probably more just my lack of skill. But I think the Warlord ended up okay. I initially did this completely covered in blood. I got blood for the Blood God and had the Banshee just completely covered in blood. And I just didn't like it. It looked way too artificial. It didn't match the rest of the army. So I think it worked. So I think the biggest thing for me, like I said, is the fact that I started painting again. And, I haven't actually done much, I guess, since Holy Havoc, so that's not so good. But I really want to keep the momentum and keep it up. Like I said, I want to finish these models. And I want to jump back into the projects I was working on prior to this, which were the Cadian Imperial Guard, because I want to have at least a decent 40k army finished. That's like the one thing I don't have any of. I have lots of models. Like to get back into 40k, but I don't want to be that guy that shows up with an unpainted army. It's just kind of, believe me, I have lots of unpainted models, way too many. But when it comes to like going to like a local store, because where I am, I don't really know any of the gamers, so it's like a random pickup game, and I don't know, just feels a bit lame. Probably some of my excuse to just not get. I don't want to meet new people, but we'll see. And then the other army I was supposed to be working on is Free People or Empire as well. But part of it is I need to rearrange my chart system that I designed to pick different projects, because Empire is really outdated. So now they're divided between 5 or 6 different factions, but none of them, with the exception of the generic Free People, is especially viable as a standalone army necessarily. You need to kind of mix and match from a few different other things. Crazy old danglers. But I might just, I primed some spearmen up a while back, and I think I need to get back onto that. But the rest of this month, from a hobbying perspective, there are a couple things I really want to work on, and that is assembling models. I have a tremendous stack of unassembled models, and it's been growing, and it needs to be toned down a bit. Even if I just assemble them, at least I can kind of use them if I wanted, and put them away in a more I don't know, in my little drawers, so that they're slightly more organized. So that's something I want to do the rest of this month, and I kind of started that. I also just need to organize my collection in general. Like I said, going through and using the new names, figuring out how many points I have of each, stuff like that is something I need to do. I spent the last couple weeks kind of just looking at Stormcast and wondering whether I should do whether or not I should work on those. And truth be told, if I made this video a couple weeks ago, or even a couple days ago, I would have said, I'm working on Stormcast. But I think I'm going to reaffirm my chart system, stick with Cadians, Empire, go through them, finish those, and go on. Part of it was like if I attend an event in 2017, like Adepticon, I wanted a different army than what I just used. But I don't think it matters. If I haven't finished a different project by then, I'm fine using Death again. I like Death. I like all the armies. So that's not necessarily a problem. So, for Black Library, if you're into that type of thing. I did read a couple books. I'm like woefully behind. I'm like, in addition to models unassembled and unpainted stacking up, I have like Black Library novels stacking up, and White Dwarfs for that matter too. I'm woefully behind in my White Dwarf reading. No excuse there. I've got to get back to it. So I read through Throne World, which is part of the Beast Arises series. It's a good series. Post 30K, so post Horus Heresy. I'm not going to go into too much of the details because it's a long series. It's like 11 books. I'm amazed that they've like released them all within like a single year, because I think they're all 2016. And I have 10 of them so far. But this is book 5, so I gotta move up here. But it's an interesting kind of take. The orcs are kind of invading. You get to see a lot of stuff going on in Terra, and it's kind of a fun little book. These things are high quality productions, and I like nice books. It's part of my profession. And then I got Labyrinth of the Lost. Now I got this a while back, but I read through it last month. And short little read. It's like a little pamphlet, but it works, and it explains why all the little characters are in the labyrinth. And might be a bit of a spoiler, but the Chaos character ends up taking the power of the Chazin sorcerer as opposed to killing him. And he was in there to protect his tribe, and then he leaves the tower and he's transformed into like a crazy demon prince, and he goes back to his tribe and basically just murders them all. Which is a very, very typical Warhammer story. But so I liked it. I was not expecting that at the end. Like, you always think, okay, that Stormcast, he's gonna get the demon. No. So that was fun. I was trying to think of something to talk about in the wider community. Now, there is that community page that just came out, but that's not really October news, and I will make a video on that. I think what mostly I want to talk about, Mr. Blanche. I hope I pronounced that right. I have no clue. I was listening to different pronunciations, but you get, like, of course, different ones, whether or not you have a long A or short A, depending whether or not it's like UK or the United States. He's from the UK, so I think I hopefully did it right. But his first name's John. He's been the art director of Games Workshop for a very long time. And he contributed to the Tolkien Bestiary back in early 80s. And long before I knew anything about Games Workshop, as a young kid, I loved the Tolkien Bestiary, and I loved his artwork out of there. I had no clue who he was. I had no clue who the artist was at all. When I got involved with Games Workshop, I really liked that artwork, and it kind of dawned on me, that's some of the same stuff from the Tolkien Bestiary. So seeing that connection, realizing that he's been involved with Games Workshop for a very long time, was just really cool. And his artwork is the inspiration for both 40K and Fantasy. He does a lot of like the initial illustrations for any new models that are coming out. So that was very interesting. Now, I bring this up. It has no other, you're probably wondering, what the hell are you talking about, Hooves? So I got invited on Facebook through my personal account to be friends with someone with the same last name. And I was like, who's this guy? Just some random invite. And I look, and it has his artwork. And I was like, okay. But he wasn't named John. He's using his name Lawrence, which is apparently his middle name. So I was like trying to figure out, who's this guy? And so eventually I accepted. And yeah, it's him. It's John. And apparently he invited like a couple thousand people to be his friends. So I think basically he's kind of an older guy. And he probably just got like the go-ahead from GW to make like a Facebook account. But he didn't make a community page or something like that. He just made a personal account and added everyone, which is kind of fun. It's nice to be his friend on Facebook. The downside of that is that you get all these like recommended friends. You have one person in common, John, and there's like thousands of them. But anyways, so that's just what I would kind of mention for the community part. Gaming wise, in October, we played a lot of pre-Holy Havoc test games with the Army, and I'm actually glad that that's over with. We had a lot of fun, but it was like, my wife was like, we've got to play, which is great. But like the exact same Army every single time. And, the General's Handbook came out during the summer. We haven't even played with points yet. So now that's part of why I was like humming and hawing on a Storecast, looking through all the different formations and trying to figure out an army. I made like 12 different army lists. They're never perfect. You're always upset with like, I wish I could put more stuff in there. But part of it is I don't have a good sense of like what a 2,000 point army is, because we've been playing with armies that are 2 to 3 times that for the last couple months. So this is going to be good to kind of get by that and start playing with some points. That's the plan. So YouTube, I'm hoping to get out some more videos this month, and different videos. I have some things lined up. More topical videos I kind of want to get back to. I think I've talked the hell out of Holy Havoc. Although, like I said, I might still get Mrs. Hooves to kind of chime in, because I know she has a lot to talk about. But she's a little bit timid. But we shall see. I think, I'm almost finished graduate school in 3 weeks. And undoubtedly I'll be back at school at some point. But for now, I'll be in the job market in 3 weeks. And I've been told it takes a very long time to find a job in my profession. So I think that there should be some extra time for hobbying and video production. I'll be looking for a job too. That will take some time, but I'm hoping to ramp up production a little bit as well, starting mid-December. You can hold me accountable, right? If I'm not making videos, bad stuff. All right, purchases. Now, like I said, I want to get back to that chart system because it really does help me to focus on the project, and I totally forgot all about it. So like after the move, I started buying stuff off like used websites, like just random stuff, because the deals are so good. It's like, I've got to get that. And now it's like, I'm just adding to like my unassembled, unpainted model pile. That's dumb, right? So part of what I should really do is just work on the charts, reaffirm that system, focus on the models I have, and if I want to spend money, buy books or something like that. What I'd like to do is get some display cabinets in here. That's what I want. But basically, this is what I got in October. I got it Gore Chosen. Let me get it out there for you. This is the little melee game where you're in an arena between 4 different champions of Khorne. Again, I think if I was if I was faithful to the chart system and I rolled Bloodbound, then I would pick this up. Because otherwise, as much as I want to play the game, I probably won't. So my wife doesn't have an interest in like the blood and gore of just pure Khorne, so I don't think I can convince her. I think we might play Silver Tower now. Might get a chance to play that, but this probably not. But this is the type of thing. For me, I'm always like worried about them going out of print within a certain period of time. But that hasn't like panned out at all. Even Betrayal Calth, which I thought I had heard that it was like a limited run. It's still available. And it probably sold really well. So, there's probably no real need. I'd rather focus on getting as many models painted, and hopefully I'll roll Bloodbound, and then I can get a few new additions. So I guess in the same line, this is from like that used store, but I got an old Bloodthirster. Now, I like old models, so I totally recognize that the new ones are amazing. But the old ones, I think, kind of look cool. It'd be a pain to actually put it together. That's for darn sure. But it is what it is. And I got Old bloodletters, yes. Stupid round bases or square bases. Um, but I actually like the look of these old ones. They, they're a bit dated as every old model, but I bought, part of the reason for getting those, not only were they a decent deal, but Khorne Demons is supposed to be one of my upcoming projects according to the actual chart. So I think it's if I finish either the Cadians or the Free People Army, then I'd switch over and do a bit of Khorne Demon. Now I do have about 10 or 12 of the new plastic bloodletters, so that army will require a little bit of work to kind of get it, maybe increase. Maybe I just won't. Maybe I should just stop buying models altogether for a year. I'd like to think that that's possible. I don't know if I can do it. Maybe for a month or two, but we'll see. I don't know, man. I really wish I had that discipline, or I was just happy, because I don't need to have a pure Khorne Demon army. I can just have a couple units of Khorne Demons and use them alongside something else. But I'm still very much when I think of an army design, I'm still thinking in the old categories of not mixing and matching. So maybe that will, as Age of Sigmar continues, that will tone down a bit. And I got Silver Tower Arcane Heroes. These are fantastic deals. It's hard to not pass them up. The cost of this thing is a little bit more than one of these characters. The exact same as the previous one. Where the models in there are 3 times the value of the box if you bought them separately. This one has a Chaos Sorcerer Lord, a Gracier, Knight Heralder, Skink Star Priest, and a Sorceress. So that and all 5 models I don't have, so I was happy with that, definitely. Now some of the other books. Take a look here. One moment. Here we go. I got a 2009 catalog. All these books are actually really cheap. They were not expensive whatsoever. You can buy this catalog for $1 on Amazon. You pay more for the actual cost of postage by a significant margin. It's really just postage. The actual company makes 50 cents or something. I had the 2010 catalog, so this is probably absolutely worthless. And it's in much worse condition than as described. But, I like getting the catalogs. I'm really hoping to pick up a lot of the catalogs from the 1990s, because that's when they produced a catalog every 6 months or something. There's a lot of them. And that's a period where it's difficult to know what models were available. And then I got, talking about the old Beast Arises series, I got The Beast Must Die and Last Son of Dorn. I forget what these are. I think they're books 8 and 10 or something. So I ordered these a while ago, and you can pre-order them. And one just kept on being delayed and delayed and delayed. But they finally came out, and so that's now I'm 9, so now I've got to get 9 at some point. But like I said, it'll probably take me a while to get through the books that I do have. And speaking of old rule books, well, I guess we weren't, but now speaking of old rule books, I got the 5th edition hardcover rule book for 40K. Now I stopped playing 40K, I guess, in 4th. 5th, I love, from what I know of the changes in rules, sounded really cool, but I never really had an opportunity to play with it, and so I skipped it. And I got, I bought this. I don't know why I have 6th edition necessarily, but I do, and I don't have the current 7th. So there was kind of a gap there where I didn't have the rulebook. I had the little mini one out of the box set, but I didn't have the hardcover of all the story and and the looks of the models. Now, I use these as more of a, so I can get a good sense of like the history of the hobby, like when models were produced, changes in lore, stuff like that. And I think they're a fun little valuable book to kind of leaf through. The rules are obviously not essential by any means, but that's why it's dirt cheap. Again, you can buy this for like $1. They practically give these old rule books away once the new edition hits. Came from a home of a smoker. That's kind of apparent. But other than that, it's good to go. Now this is an interesting one. Warhammer Ancient Battles. Again, sometimes these are, well, they're not really expensive, but they're a little bit more than I would pay for a game that I probably will never play. But again, I think I bought this for like $2 or $3. And for that much, I will add it to the collection, because I'm always interested in this series. First off, because I love ancient history, and if I were to play a tabletop historicals game, that's probably the era that I would prefer. But what's fascinating to me is the fact that it's a Warhammer game. And this is produced, this book came out in 1998. Jervis Johnson was really kind of involved in this whole series. Most of the models were designed by the Perry brothers. They did like the early Lord of the Rings models and a lot of models in the 90s and early 2000s. They, like I said, it's always been interesting. The fact that it has the Warhammer logo and that it's produced by Games Workshop, but was never promoted alongside the traditional Warhammer. Like, you never saw this in White Dwarf. You never saw it even on the website or anything. This was like an obscure project that they produced along, like they never pushed it or promoted it, as far as I know. I never saw any advertisements for this or anything, but it's like Games Workshop's effort at traditional historical gaming, wargaming. So I think it's interesting. The models look cool, definitely outdated by modern standards, but I wouldn't mind playing Lord of the Rings, but for me, I would most likely buy like an army for display purposes, because I just love Lord of the Rings. This is almost the same thing. I might buy like a couple old units of Roman legionaries and just have them on my shelf. I think if I actually painted Stormcast, I might paint them in that same color. Armor completely all, regular metallic, and their shields red. That's kind of something I would love to do if I actually get to Stormcast at some point. So I actually got the October White Dwarf as well. Good times there. Still haven't read it. I need to get on that as well. And then that came with the Will of Iron comic. Now, I haven't read this either. No excuse there, because, comics only take a few minutes. Really excited this came out. I haven't really looked at, I don't know of any comic distributors nearby, because I don't generally buy comics other than the odd Warhammer one when they produce them regularly. I actually took a look at Titan Comics website, and you can order the comic directly from them. And the shipping costs were pretty reasonable, so I might start collecting these. Because as I mentioned in the best IP video a while back, I actually think comics are one of the best use of Warhammer IP. I think they lend themselves to visuals without a huge amount of dialogue. Anyway, that's the end of that. And that is my hobby journey for October. Get some more hobbying done in the next couple weeks, so I have something to talk about in December. Have a good one. Bye.